everything else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. Joy and I are two very old friends who love to share codes and talk about murder and everything else. So yes, I do have a cold thanks to my co-host. So if I sound nasally and I have to cough, you know why. You know who to blame it on.
I licked her coffee cup, and then I licked her spoon, and then I licked her glasses.
And the result is I have a very nasally voice. And then in addition to that, in addition to being catching my lovely co-host's cold, I was attacked by a
She
swarm,
was targeted
by a swarm of wasps. You guys, have you ever disturbed a wasp nest? There's a first time for everything, and I must say that this was the first time I've ever disturbed a nest, and it was quite alarming because, you guys, it's not like I stuck my hand in like a beehive or whatever. I just put something down, not even hard. It was something very light, but I put it down near, I guess, a nest, and the vibration. Did you guys know that? I did not know that it took that little vibration.
Yeah, because when I take my vibrator out, I hear wasps all the time. They're like, bzz, 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 and then I'm like, oh, I gotta put the vibrator away.
Oh my God, I already don't feel well. Yeah, that was real fun. They were like, they flew up my dress, and when I was trying to get one off of me,
they got a show.
When I got one off of me, I felt like stinging elsewhere. It was really, really kind of scary.
She got a lot of stings because I wasn't here, you guys. I was off Pleasure Bend, traveling around the world and seeing exotic places while Cheryl was holding down the fort. And I got to tell you, I thought she meant she got like 3 or 4 stings. She got like 30 or 40 stings. And it looks like she got beat up. And then she sent me pictures, and like she still has like red marks and like bruising and like
scars.
I'm
gonna have emotional and physical.
She has
scars.
PTSD now.
I do. No, you know what? Before, like a bee, like a lone bee, could be buzzing by my head, and I would think nothing of it. And now it's like I'm flailing, like I'm drowning out in the Pacific Ocean. No, it was really scary. Like.
Oh, I'm sure. And then you're like, and she's allergic to them, guys.
Well, I didn't know.
So that's crazy too, because like, you know, you hear people say like, I'm allergic to something, and I have to have this EpiPen and blah 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 blah. Well, it really turns out that. So anyway, the cool thing is, if anything ever goes down with more wasps, I get to do the mouth to mouth. I know you're like 1,000, 2 and and Cheryl's gonna be like kicking. Stop licking my face.
No, so I don't have I didn't get any closing of my throat or my lungs. I don't have. It's not like anaphylactic.
That's okay.
shock.
I'm still gonna do mouth to mouth.
Okay, great. That'll help me with. No, but I had.
That'll help you stay away from wasps.
It'll help with this cold. But no, I did have a reaction at the sting sites, at the bite sites. I could not stop scratching it, and then it just blew up, and then the rash thread and. So anyway, that was really fun.
Remember, they went up her dress, so you know where they went for.
Yes.
So she's got all kind of cooter rash right now.
Yeah, so that was my exciting.
I wasn't even here to nurse her back to health.
I wasn't even.
You should have seen her head. She looked like the Elephant Man.
Oh, anyway, what about you? You ever been attacked by bees or wasps or anything?
I've been living here for like 14 years. It's like I'm not even here. You are here for 20 seconds and you're getting all kind of like cooter rashes from things.
Thank you very much for saving it for me. Wow.
I just want you to know that I do not accept. There's nothing vibrating here at all. There's nothing that vibrates. Cheryl's here for 1 minute, and then like everybody can feel her vibrations, and they're like swarming out to see what's going on. I live here my whole life. And nothing's happening.
No one's ever going to be able to use their vibrator again
That's
without
right.
thinking about
Guys,
this.
if you go outside to brush the dogs, turn your vibrators off. Don't go out into the yard to pick up poop with the vibrator in hand. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I have some updates today.
Okay.
And I know we decided a while back we weren't going to talk about stats and all that.
But-
Meaning the stats for this podcast. But guys, listens are up. And guess what? Our over 60 crowd is up. Like, what's
Yay.
going on with people over 60 wanting to listen to us yammer? Do you think it's because you're in your 60s now?
Very funny.
Anyway, we are so excited to welcome any listeners out there that we've picked up in the last several weeks. Summer is usually a slow time and our listens go way down. So I'm happy to report that in July we are packing in the listens. Do you think it has to do with the heat? And people escaping outside and going inside and they don't have anything to do, so they're like blindly clicking on podcasts?
I don't think so.
Well, anyway, I also have an update. It's more like condolences, thoughts, and prayers. And that goes to the people who've been affected by all this flooding, both in Texas and through the southern Atlantic states. I can say that I was gone for 11 days. And we had some crazy flooding here in North Carolina while I was gone. And it was a little bit disconcerting to watch it on the news and not be home and not be able to, like, you know, help you guys out. I mean, we lost power, all kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah, you
and
leave and I get attacked by wasps.
I know.
We lose power. It
it
was
floods, half the road washed away. I mean, it was nuts. I was afraid to turn on the news, which I gotta tell you know, people are either news people or they're not. And I gotta say, I give Cheryl a lot of news, and I'm glad I do because
I thought you were gonna say credit.
No, she's not a news person. And I'm so happy you're not a news person because I'm not really a news person either. And the thing I hate the worst is going in and people have the news on 24 effing 7. It's so depressing.
Yeah. And it doesn't change. It's the same stuff,
Yeah.
just regurgitated. And yeah.
It's so depressing.
I used to watch the news and then I stopped for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, thank God.
And now
'cause
you are my news.
the only thing that we have going on here right now is the Tour de France because we've talked about it in the past. My husband is an avid devotee. So in the month of July, we watch a lot of Tour de France. And when I say we, I mean he, because I was mildly intrigued by it for maybe the first 7 years of our marriage, but then I slowly backed away. Like you back away from that
7-year
one
itch.
alcoholic at a wedding because when the cake falls over, you don't want to be standing next to them. Anyway, Cheryl, you got any updates?
I have an update. I'm going to keep it brief because we are going to do a deeper dive into this. I'm waiting for sentencing on the 24th, I think, of this month. But Brian Koberger, the suspect in the murders of the 4 Idaho Moscow college students, has pleaded guilty to murder in the first degree. So he is going to, well, it's not official yet. That's why he has to have the sentencing, but he was up for death if he was found guilty by a jury. So he decided, well, they made a deal. Actually, I don't know all the ins and outs, so I don't want to misspeak, and that's why I'm going to wait. There's a gag order, and it should be lifted after the sentencing. So I don't know how it all came about, who approached who, if it was the defense approaching the prosecution approaching the defense. Whatever the case may be, death was taken off the table because he wasn't going to have a trial, and instead he agreed to plead guilty and will have 4 consecutive life sentences.
And remember, in Idaho, it's death by firing squad.
Yeah, so it probably was like, I think they brought that back special for him. No, they were having problems, I think, with the lethal injection and finding the right, like, cocktail of it and people not dying and just suffering, which is pretty scary.
Which is pretty amazing too, if you think about it, Cheryl, because like that's how we put animals are put to sleep, and it's painless, and it's humane. And I know because my husband is a veterinarian. I've talked about it in the past. And the fact of the matter is that to think that we euthanize animals in a humane and painless manner, but yet lethal injection, they have video of like them jerking and moaning and frothing at the mouth, because remember, it is such a traumatic process. So it boggles my mind.
Why don't we have that for humans? I don't understand why it's an issue. It's an issue.
I don't know, but I had something good for that colonoscopy called propofol, girl. I could tell you right now, when I woke up, I remember saying, the one thing I said to Gabe was, I thought my butt would be sore. I mean, remember, there was a whole camera up there. They had a Polaroid up in there.
They had a whole film crew.
They did. They had Martin Scorsese was like up there looking around, and I didn't even feel it. I woke up and I felt like I could go like skipping off to the store and dancing.
That's a good point. Why couldn't you administer something like propofol and then like as you do with dogs, then you do something that stops the breathing or the heart.
I'm sure they can.
So why was all this debacle?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Anyway. Well, anyway, so Bryan Kohberger has pleaded guilty to all 4 murders. 2 of the parents were on board with it, just closing it, letting him say in front of the world that he did it, and they can move on with their lives. But 2 sets of parents were very upset because they wanted their day in court with him. Yeah. And both sides are understandable. So, but we will get into it we're going to dedicate an entire episode where we're going to give our thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't listened, our actual first 2 episodes ever 2.5 years ago, a little more than that, were on Bryan Kohberger, because that had just happened, and we did a 2-parter one. And that was back when we were so green and didn't know what we were doing. But I will say that those 2 episodes are 2 of our best listened to episodes on Spotify. So go out there and listen to Bryan Kohberger if you haven't. And also, I just have to throw in my 2 cents. Watching his body language and him in court was so disconcerting because he's very robotic. Yes. And I have to say, there's so much content out there on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and out in the socials, Facebook, about him growing up and people who say they came into contact with him. Now, again, remember, take it all with a grain of salt, but they talk very openly about like when his personality started to change. He was a very heavy set kid into his teen years, and then he lost a lot of weight.
Addicted to heroin.
He was addicted. Yeah. And so it's just very, very interesting. He's a case study, and also very intelligent. He was a PhD student. So anywho, rolling on to shout outs. I have a shout out today. Well, I have a couple rolled in together. It's for my in-laws who hosted me for 10 days in sunny California. And I say sunny California because all it did was rain here while I was gone. And I didn't see a single raindrop the whole time I was in California. I'm just here to tell you. I know, right? And then the lovely people at Pete's Coffee, where I went every morning at 6 a.m. to get my
Pete's
tall coffee. And sometimes I go back second time during the day. And then my sister-in-law drove me to and from the airport. And the fine people at American Airlines who flew me safely to and from California. And I live to tell the tale, because those of you who've been listening for a while, you know, there is nothing on this planet that I like worse than flying. That is at the top of the list. It's flying. I just talked about a colonoscopy. I'd probably have one monthly. If I could make a deal somehow where I could trade if I could have like one colonoscopy a month, but then I actually enjoy flying, I would do it, because literally I hate it. But
you're here
I live to tell the tale. On the way out,
she saw 5 pilgrim women
I did. Every time I fly, I take a picture of the wing of the plane to show my friend here, Cheryl, that I saw no pilgrim women today.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, you have to watch Bridesmaids.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to watch the whole thing, just fast forward to the plane scene with Kristen Wiig. It is the
me.
funniest.
It is me to a T. And I will tell you that for somebody who does not enjoy flying, I fly a fuck ton.
You do.
And
it's
so
true.
And remember, the best part is and I thought about this on this flight, I applied for a job as a flight attendant with United Airlines when I was in my 20s. Could you imagine me running up and down the aisle going, "We're gonna die!" With my uniform, throwing little wings out to kids to pin on, drink cups flying.
Oh my
It's a good thing they didn't hire me. That's all I can say.
Well, obviously you didn't have that issue back then, right?
Yeah, I guess not. It would have been hilarious if I did. It would have been hilarious when we gave our speech if I was like, "I hate flying."
You did your interview?
Because we had to give like an impromptu speech on a topic.
For your interview? Or
it was like a group interview thing, and they were only accepting bilingual applicants at the time, and so I applied with my sister-in-law at the time, and I speak Spanish and she speaks Korean, and so they were calling back all of the people that spoke 2 languages because they really needed people to be international flight attendants. They never called me back for the second interview to fly to Dallas, and I was really upset. Which is so stupid because I probably would have been like chewing my fingers off the whole way and like heart palpitating. Anyway, Cheryl, you got any shout outs?
I have a shout out to women's boxing. Ooh. So I stayed up late last night. Of course, by the time this comes out, it's 2 weeks past. But I stayed up to watch the 3rd and final match because they said they're never going to do this again. But it was a trilogy.
Was
between
it Tanya Harding
and Nancy Kerrigan?
No, you know Tanya Harding is a female boxer.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and she's buff, dude.
Oh my God, she went on to become a box. Is that what she's doing
I
now?
don't know if she still does it on the regular, but she did a couple of high-profile fights, and she got bumped around, boy.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what I should try. Is there any like golden boxing?
For tiny people. What category is it? It's in the teeny tiny category.
Anyway, so Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fought for the 3rd time last night, and Katie won. This was her 3rd time winning, so it puts to rest any dispute about who is better, I guess. Anyway, but the entire fight card was all women's fights. So there were 3 fights up until the main event, and the fight right before them. Wow, that was a scrapper.
Did anyone bite anyone's ear off?
No.
I really like that.
Tyson-esque moves in there.
You know what would be really funny too if you like did some fancy footwork and then like pants the other person, so now they can't walk around or jump.
They're like tripping.
Their pants are tripping them up, and then they're standing there in their chones and they're like, "Help!
Oh my gosh, that's a whole different type of boxing.
That's like a Tom and Jerry episode.
Anyway, but shout out to women's boxing because it was on Netflix. It was a big deal for it to be an entire female because back in the day, like they didn't even want to. So Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter, she was one of the commentators on it last night, and she was saying,
"Oh, yeah, she was a boxer too for a while."
Yeah, she's Muhammad Ali's daughter. It wasn't televised because it was women's, and they thought nobody would care. So,
wow,
I have to give a shout out to the promoters that they're supporting women's boxing, and it got
That's
a really big venue last night at Madison Square Garden. It was sold out, so that was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm always so surprised that Cheryl likes boxing. It just seems so violent, and she's such a peace-loving, little tiny little like delicate flower. Anyway, guess what is happening this week? We're headed right back to Cheryl's favorite genre. And that is murder. What do you have for us this week, Cheryl?
You know how much I love dogs. We both love dogs, right? But I gotta say, for as much as I love them, anytime I hear a story about someone being attacked, um, child, you hear about children being attacked by like the family dog or whatever. It just breaks my heart, and I just think how terrifying that must be. There's that one story, it was pretty recent, where the girl was dog sitting for the family, and for some reason, the dogs were fine if they were crated when you walked into the house. So they were supposed to be crated, and then she comes, right, comes in the front door and lets them out of the crate, and they're fine, and then she can take care of them. The family forgot to crate the dogs. So now it's a different story when she comes to the front door.
Wow.
And they mauled is an understatement. Like they ripped her face, they tore off her ear. I mean, they were, when the cops came, I think that they were so
Was she dead?
horrified. No, she lived
Yikes.
with obviously very severe. It's like the woman who got her face ripped off by the chimp.
Yikes.
It's the same thing, but she was dragged.
Which would you rather have,
Here we
a
go.
guard chimp or a guard dog? I would take the guard chimp.
Nobody would mess with you.
I have to just say two quick anecdotes. One, my niece was attacked by their family dog, a Rottweiler. He punctured her cheek and bit through her lip, and she has scarring to this day. And her parents did not get rid of the dog. He went on to bite two more times, and by the third time they put him down. I don't think that they would have put him down if the cops hadn't gotten involved. Talk about like parents of the year. I'm sorry, but all it would take is one bite from my dog, and that'll be it. I've talked about this. We had a dog that was aggressive, and it ended up swallowing a plastic bag, and we had to put it down. But that dog was crated when my kids were in the room and no adults were there, because I just, we walked this line with this dog, and we had to be very, very vigilant. And then the other thing is, we knew a couple when we lived in Portland. They had a dog, and it was a mixed breed. They got it at a shelter as a puppy. It was a very aloof dog, and it was very tall. I remember because we had a German Shepherd at the time named Sally, who was very tall. And this dog was bigger and taller, and it was not interested in dogs. And it would like pace back and forth and always be looking out the windows. You could never pet the dog. It was not a dog that was like affectionate. And she got pregnant, and the dog bit her in the stomach. The owner, yeah. And they had to put the dog to sleep. And they were devastated because they had gotten the dog as a puppy.
Yeah, so you would
And
think.
so I'm just here to tell you that, like, keep in mind, one, they're animals, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they are animals. And so, like, and they don't speak English. And, it's like, I know that there are certain behaviors like licking or whatever people say are anxiety responses, or, like they're like, we have a dog that reacts to thunder and lightning, and cowers, but at the end of the day, they're animals. And so just remember that, there are traits sometimes that you have no way of knowing that your animal's going to have.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
And no amount of medication and training is going to change that.
Yeah, so I've talked about my dog Jet before, and he was like 18 pounds, and he was some kind of Jack Russell mix that I rescued from a shelter. And he was about a year, maybe 10 months to a year old, and he always had aggression issues. Like, I could never, in the 14 years that I had him, could never break him out of it. And I look back, he bit me several times. You know the story, but I'll tell our listeners, he bit me several times. He has bitten friends. And
they're not friends anymore.
Yeah, they're no longer my friends. But, and I hate to say this, it's not right, but I think his size had something to do with me just keeping him and dealing with it, because he was only 18
But also
pounds.
remember, you had no children. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, because he was, I was very lucky looking back at it. I was very lucky he didn't attack like someone I didn't know. It could have been a lawsuit, all of that. Anyway, with that being said, we are going to talk about the horrific killing of Diane Whipple. So for people of a certain age, you probably lived through this because it was very big in the news. And most of our listeners are over 60, right? So y'all should know. So my sources are San Francisco Gate, Wikipedia, National Center for Lesbian Rights, and gen.medium.com. The killing of Diane Whipple remains one of the most emotional and indelible crimes in modern San Francisco history. Diane Alexis Whipple was born in Princeton, New Jersey on January 31st, 1967. She grew up and attended high school in Manhasset, New York, on Long Island. She was raised primarily by her grandparents and was a gifted athlete from a young age. She became a two-time All-American lacrosse player in high school and later at Penn State. She was twice a member of the U.S. Women's Lacrosse World Cup team. Diane later moved to San Francisco and came within seconds of qualifying for the U.S. 1996 Olympics team in track and field for the 800 meters. However, she did not compete at the 1996 Olympic team trials. Instead, she became the lacrosse coach at St. Mary's College of California in Moraga, California.
Wow.
Diane lived in an apartment on Pacific Avenue with her longtime partner, Sharon Smith. Their neighbors were Robert Knoll, 59, and Marjorie Knoller, 45. They were a married couple who worked as lawyers, and their bizarre personal lives would soon burst into the public. Marjorie Knoller and her husband Robert Knoll lived in a one-bedroom apartment on the 6th floor of the 1920s-style apartment building. They were defense attorneys and self-described left-wing liberals who had spent much of their careers representing the homeless and dispossessed, those they saw as getting screwed by the system. They had converted a closet into an office where they worked, among other things, to defend...
Closet into an office. That's such a California thing to do.
You got to maximize your space.
And we turned it into an office.
Yeah, you got to maximize your real estate. Among others, they converted the closet into an office, among other things, to defend prison guards and inmates in lawsuits against the corrections department. Their win record in court was fairly typical for general practice lawyers, but no case was too big or too strange. Robert once represented an officer claiming he was discriminated against by superiors for refusing to shave his handlebar mustache. The couple would later describe themselves as work-obsessed to the exclusion of much social connection, and they had more or less withdrawn from society. So they sound very eccentric.
It sounds like something else is going on there.
Right, I think so.
Work-obsessed, so they'd withdraw. I don't get it. Also, if they're self-proclaimed left-leaning liberals and helping like people and blah blah blah, I mean, their whole job was to help people, but then they're work obsessed, so then they don't socialize. I don't know, it just seems weird. They were two very strange people, I think. Robert and Marjorie had two Presa Canario dogs, a rare breed that originated in the Canary Islands. I've been there.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Did you see any Presa Canarios?
I don't think
there?
I've ever seen a Presa Canario dog.
Not in person, but they are.
But I did see a naked
scary
German man at a nude beach. He was probably in his 80s. And let me tell you what, when you're 21 and you're laying down and a German man comes walking towards you on a nude beach, I gotta tell ya, there's some gravity there. That junk was hanging low hanging fruit.
Oh, God. Yikes. Okay, but she did not see any Presa Canarios. Those dogs are very, very, very intimidating looking. They're very scary.
Esa pelotas gigantes.
What's that?
Large balls.
Oh, God. Are you talking about the man or the dog?
Both.
With their thick, muscular bodies and huge heads, they were sometimes bred for dogfighting in Spain. Those traits made them powerful attack dogs, which allegedly drew the attention of Paul Schneider, a 38-year-old member of the Aryan Brotherhood serving a life sentence at Pelican Bay for a long list of felonies. His lawyers were Robert and Marjorie, and he had asked them to care for his two of his Presa Canarios. The two powerful dogs, a male named Bane, approximately 140 pounds, and a female Hera, close to 100 pounds, soon gained a reputation at the quiet Pacific Heights apartment. One neighbor said she bought She bought pepper spray to protect herself. Others said Bane, in particular, was known as the dog of death around the complex. I mean, this is so wrong. You should not have to protect yourself around your own dwelling, you know? That's just. Other neighbors with dogs rearranged their schedules to avoid running into Bane and Hera,
Whoa.
who were known to lunge at people and pets. They were so strong, neither Robert nor Marjorie could fully control them.
That's great.
One vet who treated the dogs in 2000 said he took the unprecedented step of writing Marjorie a letter after his office found Bane unsafe to handle. I felt that these dogs had a potential of being very serious risks. I have never written a letter like this. I just felt so convinced that the potential was so great, I wanted to
Yeah.
let Marjorie know. He wrote in the letter that the dogs would be a liability in any household. A month before her death, Diane came home with a harrowing tale. She told her partner Sharon Smith the neighbor's big dog Bane had snapped at her wrist. She'd been wearing a large sports watch, so the bite could have been worse, but Sharon said Diane was shaken.
Okay, but can I just stop you right there? Like,
Yes,
at that
please do.
point, when the dog had snapped at her wrist, like, why wouldn't she call the cops and file a report?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, it would have, one, started a paper trail, but number two, if this dog was so dangerous around the neighborhood and, like, so scary.
So from then on, Diane would open their front door slowly to check if the neighbors were walking their dogs.
Oh, for
and
sure.
In your own home, you know, that's such a hassle and such. You shouldn't be
So dangerous.
You shouldn't be a prisoner in your own place.
So dangerous.
On January 26, 2001, 5 days before her 34th birthday, Diane returned to her apartment after a grocery run. Marjorie was taking the dogs out of their apartment at the same time Diane returned. The dogs escaped her control and attacked Diane in the hallway. Again, Bane was 140 pounds. Diane was 110. The dog's powerful jaws punctured her trachea and left about 80 bite marks on her body. A medical examiner
scary.
would later say the only parts of Diane's body that were spared were the top of her head and the soles of her feet. Another neighbor called 911 after hearing Diane's screams. Diane died hours later at San Francisco General Hospital from loss of blood
That's
from
where
multiple.
my husband was born.
Well, that's nice. But Diane died there from loss of blood from multiple traumatic injuries. Bane was euthanized immediately after the attack. Hera was seized and later euthanized in January 2002. As police investigators combed the grisly scene, they heard story after story from fearful neighbors. They began to wonder if this was more than a tragic accident. 3 days after the attack, police and the public were astonished to learn that Robert and Marjorie had officially adopted their imprisoned client, Paul Schneider, the 38-year-old, okay?
What?
Yeah, no one could figure out why they'd adopted an adult inmate. When a reporter asked Robert, he flippantly responded, "You don't have to change diapers or worry about the sheriff bringing him home at 14 for underage drinking.
What?
At 11 o'clock, you'll know where he is." Well, it says a lot about Robert and Marjorie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Officials from the Department of Corrections said they believed Robert and Marjorie were serving as intermediaries in Schneider's illicit prison business, which was selling dogs to criminal buyers. They were raising attack dogs. San Francisco police suspected the dogs were going to the Mexican mafia to protect their drug operations.
Good God.
Schneider had underworld connections and was using associates on the outside to handle the buying, rearing, and selling of the drugs. When San Francisco police talked to an associate who previously cared for Bane and Hera in rural Northern California, she admitted she'd given them to Robert and Marjorie because the dogs kept attacking her sheep, chickens, and pet cat. See, like I'm saying...
And were the sheep, chickens, and pet cats still alive? Like, were they just attacking them over and over, or did they kill them every time? And then she got a new pet cat, some new sheep, and some new chickens because...
I know.
I mean, they were like 140 pounds and 100-pound dogs. They were huge. My neighbors have a 125-pound Great Dane, but it's very gentle.
Yeah. I'm going to say it sounds like she had to keep replacing them, but I don't know.
Hey, is that a new cat? Yeah, the dogs, they ate the other one.
While detectives ran down leads, Marjorie and Robert went on the offensive. They sent a 19-page letter to the San Francisco district attorney accusing Diane of bringing death on
Are you
herself.
kidding me?
I am not. This was horrible. That's why this was in the news so much. They speculated she may have been using steroids or wearing a perfume that triggered Bane's attack instincts when their paths crossed in the hallway.
I have a friend who wears so much perfume that it's triggered my husband. So the next
Is he gonna attack her?
No, one time he came home and we had been sitting on my bed and the smell was so strong he had to like change the sheets out before he could go lay down because he said it just stank so much. And I was like, really? I hadn't noticed. He's like, how can you not notice?
Well, yeah, so these
Perfume that triggered the attack.
that's what they
That is the stupidest drivel I've ever heard.
yeah, these people were crazy. They also claimed that Bane didn't bite until Diane struck Marjorie in the face during the melee. It was by then clear to the district attorney's office that criminal negligence was involved. They brought charges of manslaughter against Robert, who wasn't present at the time of the attack, and second-degree murder against Marjorie. Tensions were running high in the Bay Area, and the judge agreed a change of venue was needed, and proceedings were moved to Los Angeles. The trial kicked off with photographs of Diane's grisly injuries, some so disturbing that her loved ones left the courtroom. More than 30 incidents with the dogs were recounted to jurors, including testimony from first responders at Diane's apartment. One paramedic recalled that not once did Marjorie ask about Diane's condition. It was also revealed to the jury that Robert was missing a finger. Bane had severed it in a previous attack.
Oh my God.
The defense attorney came out swinging, using shockingly aggressive tactics. When Diane's partner Sharon took the stand, still reeling with shock, she was grilled on her knowledge of the dog's behavior. The defense attorney's question: "Do you consider that if you had made a complaint that Diane Whipple might be alive today?" prompted audible gasps from the gallery.
So
The
they're
judge-
making it sound like it's her fault
Well,
that
that's-
our partner is dead.
Well, this is what you said earlier. Why didn't she report it to the police? And so they're turning it around on them. It's like
Unreal. Unreal. Talk about like personal accountability. You know, it's so don't get me started.
I know.
I feel like accountability and self-assessment are the two things that people are so bad at. And I really feel like I feel like impressing upon people, parents especially, like make your kids be accountable for their fuck ups and for when they do things. Like, I'm not saying obviously like put them through the ringer, but I mean, make them take responsibility for their actions. I feel like it really plays a lot to do with how people are accountable and also self-assessment. You know, when you allow somebody, I can't tell you how many times I hear parents say things like, well, she was tired and had taken an antibiotic on an empty stomach. I'm like, really? You know, it's like, that doesn't excuse her driving 95 in a 35 zone. It doesn't excuse her not studying for her final exam. It doesn't mean you get to, you know, it's like the number of times that you see stupid people going to bat for stupid behavior. It's mind boggling.
Yeah. Well, the judge told Sharon she didn't have to answer that question, and she did not. The defense attorney also asked first responders if they'd spent too much time chasing down the dogs and not enough time helping Diane, suggesting their actions prevented her from receiving life-saving care. The medical examiner, however, refuted her suggestion. Diane was too gravely wounded to be helped. At trial, Marjorie argued that she attempted to defend Diane during the attack. However, witnesses testified that Robert and Marjorie had repeatedly refused to control the dogs. A professional dog walker testified that after she told Robert to muzzle his dogs, he told her to shut up and called her offensive names. An acquaintance of Robert's testified that Robert did not apologize after Hera bit him a year before the fatal attack. So, I mean, these dogs are just leaving...
They're removing
victims.
people's fingers left and right.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is like, I just find it so irresponsible. I mean, of course, you can make excuses till the nth degree, but I just, I don't understand. I mean, and I will also say that when lawyers get really bad raps, I feel like this is just, another stone to add on the pile of like,
Exactly.
why, between these two people and divorce attorneys, like, my God.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they have to mount some type of defense, right? So anyway, after dozens of witnesses and weeks of fraught testimony, the prosecution and defense rested. It took the jury members just 11 hours to return their verdict. Robert and Marjorie were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and owning a mischievous animal that caused the death of a human being, and found Marjorie guilty of second-degree murder. Their convictions were based on the argument that they knew the dogs were aggressive towards other people and they did not take sufficient precautions. Whether they had actually trained the dogs to attack and fight remained unclear. Their case went through a series of appeals, primarily fighting Marjorie's second-degree murder charge, but her final appeal was quashed in 2016. Her sentence was 15 years to life in prison.
Ooh.
For the nation, this nightmare story was made worse by the stunning and dismissive attitude of the dog owners, who knew their animals were extremely dangerous and uncontrollable, but took no steps to protect their neighbors or any other member of the public. Robert and Marjorie blamed Diane for the attack, minimized the dog's viciousness, and generally showed an appalling absence of empathy or regret for the horror they had wreaked. While many of us might have understandably curled up in a ball and retreated from life after such a traumatizing loss, Sharon became a very unlikely and in some sense unwilling activist. Sharon made the decision to attempt in every way she could to vindicate Diane's death. Early on, the National Center for Lesbian Rights joined attorney Michael Cardoza and represented Sharon in a wrongful death action against the dog owners. Up until Sharon's case, it was virtually unheard of for a same-sex partner to be permitted to sue for wrongful death. Many legal experts agreed. As far as anyone knew, no same-sex partner had ever successfully sued for damages in the wrongful death of a partner.
Good for her.
But a judge sided with Sharon, and she was awarded $1.5 million in damages, some of which she put toward a scholarship foundation in Diane's name.
The sad thing is, it's not going to bring Diane back.
Yeah, for sure. Sharon did dozens of interviews and received cards and letters from thousands of people from all over the country and around the world. Her grace under unbearable circumstances was inspiring and put a human face on the LGBTQ community. In 2003, Robert was paroled. Sharon asked that he not be released to San Francisco, and the request was granted by the Department of Corrections, and Robert went to Fairfield, where he reportedly worked for a while as a baker. And in June 2018, he died of heart failure at La Jolla Nursing Home on his 77th birthday. In February of 2023, Marjorie Knoller was denied parole. At the conclusion of a nearly 4-hour hearing, the 2-member panel of the Board of Parole Hearings said Marjorie Knoller, 67, presented a danger to society if released. They cited her prison record, which included 2 disciplinary actions against her. She is not eligible for parole again until 2026, next year.
Wow.
So, more recently, because I saw this while I was doing research for this one. So recently, Christian Moreno was sentenced to 18 years in prison, and Abilene Schneider was sentenced to 15 years in prison for the February 24th, 2023 mauling near their San Antonio, Texas home. Ramon Najera, 81, was killed, and his wife, Juanita Najera, was injured in the attack. The neighbors' dogs got loose and attacked the Najeras as they were running errands nearby. Firefighters who arrived on the scene saw a bloodied man being dragged around a corner by dogs, and the firefighters had to use pickaxes to fend off the animals.
Well, first of all, I think it's pronounced Najeras because the first name was Juanita. So I think they're Hispanic or Latino, but
Juanita Najera.
Najera. But I have to say that, yeah, once this dog that bit my niece, I know it sounds crazy, but once it bit, it went on to, like, it bit again and again. Mm-hmm. So it was like it opened the floodgates, so to speak. We used to put our dog on a zip line, and the dog was part pit bull, and she would pull her head out of the leash and run away constantly.
You know what? Whenever I hear zip line, this is just trigger warning because this is awful. So you can fast forward if you want. But I heard about a dog that was on a zip line and it jumped over the wall because it heard something in the neighbor's yard.
It got hung
and
to death.
The owner came home and the dog was hung. So
Well,
that's all I think about when I hear zip line. But
I will say that because we live in the country, everybody that everyone in our family has like pepper spray, and I'm really bad. I don't take the pepper spray, but I should put it on my key ring, and I should or on the dog leash, and I should carry it. And it's also like bear spray, that you can buy it as pepper spray or bear spray. And they say you should carry it because you could also run across like a random bear just wandering around.
yeah, but can I give a piece of advice? So I recently bought one that has it comes in a little carrier that you can carry on your hand because let me tell you, if something's running at you, you're not gonna have the time to get it off get it out of your pocket and aim it and da da da. So I now carry it in my hand.
It's like those National Geographic photographers who are photographing or video recording like those grizzlies that are like the huge bears, and then the grizzly will like start coming over towards them, or like the gorillas in the mist, and I'm like, that gorilla could just pull your head off like kink and you'd be a goner. I'm like, I'm sorry. Or like hippos. I heard once that a hippo is the most dangerous animal on the planet.
I think I heard that too.
Yeah, they can run really fast. They said a hippo can hit your car and completely demolish it, because then they have that horn and they can throw you up in the air and they could gore you and they can like stomp you and they can swim fast and run fast. I mean, it's funny because you think of a hippo as being fat and lumbery.
Yeah, you would.
And guess what? Maybe it's fat and lumbery, but it's big too and it's scary.
I just want to say something specific situation, her death and the situation for everybody living in that. San Francisco, right? And the type of buildings. So it's when your front door is in a hallway. Yeah. It's not like it's out open in a
apartment
courtyard.
Living, yeah.
How terrifying is that? We're not talking about two little poodles that are nipping at your ankle. Right. If you guys don't know what a Presa Canario looks like, you need to look it up. And remember, Bane was 140 pounds.
Did it look like a those mastiffs, those English mastiffs that had big heads?
Yeah, thick neck, big head, and imagine.
I dated a guy who looked like that once. He had a thick neck, like big head, and a big head, and it was like when he turned his head, I'd be like, how does he turn his head? His neck's so thick.
God. Anywho,
I think he was Scottish.
But imagine having that terror going to the place that you live. You have to come in and out of there all day long.
I would have moved.
That's the thing is, I think
I would have sold my place and moved. I would have been like, Diane. I would have come home from work and I'd been like, Diane.
After she got bit with her watch.
Yeah, I would have been like, sweetie, let's move out tomorrow. And I would have said, let's hire movers. And then I would have never stepped foot in that building again. And again, not everybody can do that.
That's the thing.
I have to tell you that.
That's the thing. Not everybody can just pick up and move. Like what?
I know.
And okay, so calling the police. Let's get back to that subject. So what would you guys do? You guys that are listening, what would you do if you were in this situation and it was a neighbor? Would you call the police? What route would you take? When it's starting off like this, like you have, these stories are, I remember hearing a story of this little boy who, he would take this route to walk home, and every once in a while there'd be these pack of dogs that would be loose from the house. And one time he like jumped up in the tree and waited till they left, but then when he came back down, they came out again and they killed him. They mauled him. I mean, it's just so
guys,
awful.
when Cheryl focuses on, like when Cheryl brings the death and the destruction, she really knows. She really knows how to bring that topic home. So guys, hashtag WWYGD. What would you guys do?
What would you do?
Instead of what would Jesus do, it's what would you guys too.
No,
No, seriously though, like I want to know because like people love their animals so much that they're like, I'm not going to put it down come hell or high water. But I mean, I would put my animal down. I'll tell you right now.
after the first
You
bite, the
you
second
don't have
bite.
to ask what would Jesus do. You can
What
just
would
ask
Joy
what
do?
would Joy do, which
The
is the
J.
same WWJD, and that is Joy would put the animal to sleep. Okay, that's
Yeah,
it.
I think
And actually, Joy wouldn't do it. Her husband would do
you
it.
should leave it.
But
up.
I'm just
She leaves
saying,
the
like,
dirty
I
work to him.
would not, and I would crate the animal until I would be sad. I would be super sad because, like, I really, 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 really would be sad.
Yeah, well, this is how I start.
Let me
We
say
both
really one more time.
Yeah, to really, really make the point.
I will. I mean, you know what? If that cat bites me, I'm putting it to sleep.
She only likes one of her 3 animals, you guys.
Like the cat. I'm sorry if you're a cat lover and you're listening to this, but I have a cat for you. Just come on by.
But so there are owners like me who, yeah, I love Jet, and and this is bad, but I'm thinking if he were 140 pounds, I probably would have taken a different
He
route.
would have bit your hands off. You'd have been like
he
that
bit my
lady whose
face.
arms got chopped off and then she had to find her way out to the road. And
No, he
you'd have
did.
been like this. My dog just bit my hands off. And
No,
they'd be
I know.
like, what's
no,
up
he
with
bit
your
my
bloody
face.
stumps?
He bit my face
Yeah,
one day, and
I know.
so there's very varying levels of these situations, but these people, I have heard of people who they enjoy having a dog that's intimidating. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Well, that's what I think and why did the lady get more time than her husband? Was she like, did they find out she was like some kind of crazy like white supremacist and like,
No, she was there during the incident.
oh, and then she didn't call the dogs off? I was like,
it sounds like they had no control over them. So, like,
also the other thing is, remember the whole Michael Vick thing and the dog fighting thing? And
Yeah.
like, I feel like also the other thing I just have to say is, I don't know why I brought up the Michael Vick thing, but when you're a renter, we were a renter for many years and we had a German Shepherd and an Australian Shepherd mix. There are 4 dog breeds that renters in cities a lot of times will not rent to.
Mm-hmm.
They're Rottweilers, Pit Bulls, German Shepherds, and Doberman Pinschers.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why? Because they are notoriously aggressive, territorial. They are one person, like dog owner, like, they bond with one person.
Mm-hmm.
And because they have a myriad of like police forces will say they have like literally lists of dog of phone calls where they show up and someone's been bit by a dog and they're one of those 4 dog breeds.
Yeah.
And so they're very unpredictable. So it's not because they're all warm and fuzzy. You notice that the list didn't have golden retriever, beagle,
yeah, although
chihuahua,
of
and
course,
schnauzer on the list. So
of course, it's not every Rottweiler,
of
German
course,
Shepherd,
of course. Like we have dear friends who have a Rottweiler. It's the sweetest thing in the whole world.
And Jet was a Jack Russell who was very mean. But it bothers me when people are just, they have no, because I can't understand like not feeling any remorse if your animal attacks someone and kills them, but even not to the point of killing, but just hurt
the
someone.
Attorneys trying to like
Blame
make
it
a
on
case
her?
to blame it on Diane for riling up the dog. It's like, are you kidding? What was she standing there with like a dress made out of steaks? And she's all, look at me.
Yeah.
I got chicken wings hanging off my booty. And come on over and get some. And the dogs are like, chicken wings,
Yeah.
chicken wings. No. She was just trying to get to her fucking apartment and get in there.
Yeah, I was walking a dog I had a long time ago, and a dog, I was passing this house, and this dog came running out, and I turned my back to it, and it ripped the seat of my sweatpants. And the owner...
Maybe it wanted to see your booty. It was all, ugh, look at that. Yum, yum, give me some.
Oh, brother. But the owner came out and he wasn't like, Fido, come here. It was just...
He's all, bitch, don't be showing your naked booty to my dog. He's all,
No,
and then he goes, yum, yum, give me some.
He was so... No, but it was very upsetting because he didn't give a
crack myself
crap.
up.
Yes, you do.
God.
No, so I feel like negligent.
Dying over here.
There's owners like that who don't care at all, and that's very infuriating. Like these people. So I'm glad they were held
Yeah.
they were held
accountable.
criminally responsible.
Yep.
But every day this stuff goes on.
We'll update you in 2026 and see if this crazy lady gets out of prison, because it sounds like she's also causing trouble in the slammer.
So imagine, okay, so you talked about carrying pepper spray, and I have to say,
Really?
it might stun them. I don't know if it's going to stop the attack. And then
Well, then you
I'm
could
not an
carry a
expert.
stun gun.
I'm not an expert, but I think once they attack and they're latched on, these firefighters have to use a pickaxe to get the animals
That's
off.
so awful.
So,
Well, maybe you could carry like one of those tasers, some pepper spray,
a pickaxe.
and some rubber bullets, and a hand grenade.
But Joy did learn a useful piece of information. If you guys didn't know this, we learned that, is it just specific to pit bulls? But anyway, if a pit bull has attacked, if you lift its back legs up, it'll release. Did anyone know that? We were floored to hear that. And it's actually works.
It's good
It
to
works.
know.
Do we know if it's just pit bulls this works on? I don't know if it's all dogs or
Maybe.
what.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it the next time I'm being bit by a dog. I'm going to lift up the back legs and see what happens.
But anyway, if you guys didn't know that,
human
it's
first and see. Like, you bite my arm. You bite my arm. I'll lift up your back legs.
Oh my
Guys, I just have to say, Cheryl and I haven't recorded for a couple of weeks, so I'm a little giddy today because we haven't done this.
Oh
So
my God.
that's why I'm coming up with so many really lame ass jokes.
Okay, but I want to talk about the euthanasia. So obviously these dogs should have been euthanized ASAP. They should have been euthanized a while ago, but after what they did, they were definitely. But then you hear stories like, you always talk about that kid that the little toddler that fell into the gorilla's cage.
Harambe.
Didn't they euthanize it?
They euthanized him. And whenever
And
there's like a shark attack, like that shark that bit that girl's arm off who was like a surfer, then they went on and I think they shot the shark.
See, and I think that's so
it's
wrong.
It's not like the shark climbed out of the
Water
ocean and went to her
look
house. I was like, remember, the shark
it-
lives in the ocean. And I'm not saying, thankfully the girl survived and she has continued to be a surfer.
So wrong,
and she has an amazing story to tell. But
There's a movie,
guys,
but the gorilla was just in his gorilla enclosure or sanctuary or whatever, the place at the zoo, and he wasn't doing anything but being a gorilla. And so that I hate hearing stories like that. That's just.
Yeah, yes, Harambe the gorilla at the Cincinnati Zoo was euthanized. He was shot and killed by the zoo's dangerous animal response team after a young boy entered his enclosure. The zoo's team made the decision to use lethal force because they feared for the boy's life.
So the gorilla hadn't even come into contact with the boy, right?
No, he was holding it by the leg and swinging it around. Oh yeah, the videos. You need to go look at those videos. I'm not kidding you.
That puts a whole different spin on it. No pun intended. He's spinning that kid around.
Guys, if you have a violent, scary dog, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. Get rid of the dog and then listen to this podcast.
There you go.
But seriously, if you know somebody who has a dog that is super scary, violent, and potentially lethal, and could harm or maim or kill a child or an adult, and you have not called animal control or the cops multiple times, then guess what? You are committing a huge crime. But you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are so out of time.
We are? Well, that is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.